Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today, even though we cannot physically be together. I would like to start by extending my thanks and appreciation for His Excellency Minister Mohammed Abdulati, the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation of Egypt, for his kind invitation to host and moderate the plenary session on innovative solutions for water security. Let me just share my screen here. I would like also to extend my congratulations to Dr. Iman Said, the head of planning sector at the ministry, and her capable team for their hard work to make this event happen against all the odds. My name is Hisham Al-Askari. I'm a professor of remote sensing and earth system science and the director of the graduate programs in computational and data sciences at the Schmidt College of Science and Technology, Chapman University, California. Today, I see myself as an earth systems scientist whose agenda focuses on innovative work in the extensive usage and utilization of satellite Earth observations on specific sustainable development goals dealing with agriculture, desertification, food productivity, water resources, life underwater, air quality, clean energy, biodiversity, and climate action. Research and innovation are nowadays key transversal means to address societal challenges through an integrated approach. Ongoing global climate change, water scarcity, prolonged droughts, growing population, over-exploitation of water resources, construction on rivers, lack of cooperation along transboundary rivers, coastal and marine pollution, biodiversity decrease, development of blue economy, and intensification of economic activities are all pressing issues that affect water resources. These water-related issues are indeed limiting factors for a sustainable economic growth. Therefore, a collaborative and interdisciplinary approach between research and innovation should be utilized in current and future directives and policies, not only to ensure better life for all, but to also achieve different sustainable development goals related to water resources. In this session, our world-class experts will share interesting approaches for facing and building resilience to water scarcity and security issues to achieve a water-smart society, which fully considers the true value of water. These approaches shall empower stakeholders and decision makers with integrated technologies for management that can be seen as scalable in data resource volume and processing capacity. For instance, when we talk about Earth observations, it has proven to be a vital tool in order to address one of the most hot topics that happened summer of 2020, which is the filling of the Gerd Dam. You can see a satellite image showing you the body of the dam and the water before the dam and right after during the rainy season. Here we are showing how satellite observations was able to monitor since June 8th, followed by June 23rd, and you can see the digital elevation model showing you the altitude of the water at that location. By July 3rd, we see the growth and the extension of the water body reaching up to 530 meters in altitude. And then on July 11th, we kept monitoring the increase in the water body using different constellation of satellites, either from SAR images or from Chinese satellite resource and others. And you can see here on July 12th, we see a constant increase, and by highlighting different locations along the Gerd Dam here, as well as some of the other locations, you can see that the water level has been increasing. By July 21st, we observe an overtopping of the body of the dam itself and the growth, the massive growth of the body of the water behind the dam. And then on July 21st, by overlaying the digital elevation model, you can see that the altitude reached almost 570 meters and ending above 570. So by looking at that, we saw how research or how satellite observations, which proved to be a vital tool, was able to observe the increase in the estimated water altitude along time. And you can see that the highest level was almost close to 580 meters. Along those lines of innovation and the usage for water security, a systems view, Mark, Director General, International Water Management Institute, is going to be talking to us. Dr. Mark was appointed as the Director General of International Water Management Institute in August 2020. Dr. Smith formerly was the Deputy Director of the Institute, and he was the Research for Development. He brings more than 25 years of research and program management experience in water resources, agriculture, climate, and sustainability. He was formerly the Director of Global Water Program and Manager for Organizational Change at the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and the Governor at the World Water Council. He has led innovative multi-regional programs in Asia, Africa, Latin America, addressing river basin management, climate change adaptation, and nature-based solutions, and transboundary cooperation in water management. He has a doctorate in ecology and resource management from University of Edinburgh and master's in climatology from University of Guelph. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mark Smith for his presentation.
So maybe just while we're doing that, to kick things off, what I wanted to do with my few minutes in speaking with you all was to take a bit of a bird's eye view of water security thank you very much, and the multiple challenges that are embedded within water security and the many things that link to it. We know, for example, that SDG 6, the water SDG, is linked with all of the other SDGs. Because there's codependency between water and agriculture and energy and industry, climate, ecosystems, as well as social aspects, social well-being, peace and security, and so on. And as water professionals, as a group of water professionals that attend Cairo Water Week, this is something we understand innately. But I'm interested in what are the implications of that system's nature of the issues that we are working on. What are the implications for innovation in water security, and how can we address systemic aspects of water security in our research and in the innovation that we all work on? And I want to approach this by looking at that question through the lens of resilience. Resilience is a systems concept, and water plays a particularly critical role in that concept. And to do that, I'll just run through a few examples, and I just have 2 slides to give us a bit of a backdrop to what I'm saying. A few examples of research and innovation and research areas that IMI works on, and look at how these relate to different aspects of system performance and how they come together. So I hope now you can see my screen. So water security. Water security, I think we all see various definitions of the term water security, but it pulls together the ideas of water, that we need to have acceptable quantities of water, acceptable water quantity combined with acceptable water quality, combined with acceptable levels of water risk that relate to economy, that relate to production, that relate to people's livelihoods, that relate to ecosystems. So as we look, therefore, at innovation for water security, how can we have innovation that addresses those multiple dimensions of water security, while at the same time, and we're all have deep awareness of this, and increasingly so, to address water security, as we address water security, we're also working on a diverse set of goals, a diverse set of goals around what you could term mega challenges that the world is facing, that regions, certainly such as the Middle East and North Africa, are facing, relating to food and nutrition security, relating to climate change, relating to ecosystems and the goods and services from them and how we sustain them, how we restore them, and of course, inclusive growth. And how that supports gender equality, and how, as we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, we'll be able to achieve that inclusive growth going forward. So those are big picture goals in which water security and water security innovation fits, and all are interlinked with and all are codependent on water. So can innovation for water security work well across systems, and so help to address these multiple challenges, these multiple goals? And it should do, right? As we understand as water professionals, it should do. if as we're often claiming, water issues cut across sectors and they cut across development challenges, then water innovation should be able to help with solutions across a whole range of problems. That should be logical. So I wanted to look at that and see what's possible through the lens of climate change resilience. And to do that, I want to share this framework that we published last year with the Global Commission on Adaptation, and that it recognizes that building resilience is a systems concept, and it combines a set of components that bring together technologies, infrastructure, ecological dimensions, and social dimensions. And this framework works, as you see on the screen, it works in a nested way. So the overall envelope sits inside governance and participation, and the innermost element is infrastructure and technology. And that's where I wanted to start, just exploring a little bit of how this works. So interestingly, that infrastructure and technology in our framework, we put it at the center, the furthest into this nested construct. But it's often where most people start when we start talking about water security, when we start talking about climate change adaptation. We start with technologies and infrastructure. So some examples. First, very important, and I know very, very important in the Middle East and North Africa region, is the need to find ways to raise agricultural water productivity, to raise water productivity in irrigation. So that we can combine those needs of strengthening food security, reducing the threats of water scarcity, while adapting to climate change. And it involves aspects of agronomy, of precision farming, of infrastructure improvement, of optimization across the water, energy, food nexus, and of course, technologies for improving application of water within irrigation, and means to improve the efficiency of that. Second area, a critical area also for this region, is wastewater reuse. It's important for environmental health so that we can live in clean environments, but also helps with year-round water supply in agriculture, helps with soil fertility and crop nutrition, and provides a way of strengthening the resilience of water supply and resilience to water scarcity in agriculture. So it's a really good, important tool. Third element I wanted to highlight was agricultural risk management. So, for example, applications of satellite data. We were just looking at some satellite data, remote sensing, to drought and flood early warning and response, which helps manage risk, but also to developing index-based crop insurance schemes that help to transfer risk away from farmers to reduce their vulnerability. The second component of the framework that I wanted to touch upon, we called system diversity and connectivity. So this is when we go up a level. We start talking about how do we work on water security at watershed level, at landscape level, and the extent to which diversity and interconnectivity at that level helps to create redundancy, helps to create fail-safes that protect against risks to water security. So having alternative water storage options for farmers, for towns and cities, whether that's to do with built reservoirs, the way they relate to natural storage of water in wetlands, for example, the way that relates to groundwater, and the way how can we manage those three different types of infrastructure in conjunctive ways. And linked to that, therefore, going back to the title of that component of the framework, system diversity, alongside that, we have to manage soils, we have to manage vegetation cover and ecosystems, and the environmental flows in the water systems, in the water courses that sustain the benefits, for example, that wetlands provide for nutrition, for water storage. And linked to that, we can also bring in diversity in the economy. So making sure that there's diversity in the economy and agricultural value chains, and the way they shape vulnerability in the economy to water use. And all of that, of course, indicates the importance of having the means, as these things get more complicated, having the means and the data and information to assess and make choices about trade-offs. And that's the third component of the framework around information and learning. So critical for our water security challenges is we have data and knowledge. That's not news. That's not news to us. And how we use it so that we improve planning, decision-making, our responses to extreme events, scenario assessment for climate change, how we allocate water, etc. A key innovation there is water accounting. So how do we using satellite data and modeling to quantify how much water there is in a basin or a watershed or an irrigation scheme, where it is and how it's used. Fundamental critical information that innovation technology is helping us with. Second point is really around emerging big data technologies, and I'm referring here in the notes on the screen, particularly to data cubes of historical and current remote sensing data, and then starting to imagine, well, how can we build novel information services around those for agricultural water management, for river basin management, for pollution monitoring, etc., etc. And then what about Internet of Things technologies and artificial intelligence? So, for example, sourcing data across thousands of groundwater pumps across an aquifer, and using those to monitor and manage abstraction in sustainable ways that can make water security more robust. And then the final point in the framework is governance and participation. So this is kind of the wrapper around everything, referring to changes in water governance and how they underpin water security, but also increasing participation so that people can negotiate the choices and the trade-offs, as well as self-organize as things change, as extreme events happen, as there are changes in the resource. Critical here is multi-level water governance, so differentiating and linking the roles and responsibilities at national and basin level through to, for example, water user associations. Multi-stakeholder dialogue in which you can bring in, for example, the private sector also as a real drive to innovation, a real drive to focus on what the critical priorities are, where the innovation is needed, and how to deploy it. And so opportunities then, as I said, to enhance the role of the private sector in relation to technologies and infrastructure, but also data services, linking to agricultural value chains and the way those shape how we use water. So just to conclude then, I thought that bringing a systems view to innovation would be an interesting way of helping kick off this session. I think it's a good news story when we do that, because we see that there's innovation underway and being rolled out and scaled up across all different dimensions of the kind of systems lens that I've shown today. At IMI, in the region, in the MENA region, as well as worldwide, we work with a whole range of partners on all dimensions of the framework that I've presented today. In the Middle East, North Africa, we have particularly active programs around water productivity and irrigation, around water accounting, wastewater reuse, innovation and optimization in the nexus, water, energy, food nexus, as well as data and information services for drought management for farmers, for pastoralists, and improving the policies and water governance that you need for effective drought management. So by looking at innovation for water security using a systems framework, and in this case, as I said, I used resilience as an entry point for that, we see a critical need for cohesion across these different elements, for packages of innovation that can link different aspects of systems, that can address the diversity and the needs of stakeholders, sectors, and scales, the diversity of needs relating to production, economy, social aspects, ecology, and then, of course, the need to manage trade-offs, and that has technological dimensions, it has social and governance dimensions. So it's clear that there are very active areas of innovation across these different dimensions of such a system, but it's fragmented because we have fragmentation in financing, we have fragmentation in the institutional mandates, in the policies and conflicting policies that shape the different areas of activity that I've pointed towards. But I hope, and I think by bringing this kind of systems view to innovation for water security, we start to see that there's an opportunity here. As I say, I think it's a good news story. There's critical opportunities here to join the dots, to bring together the different actors in partnerships, in consortia, to create the cohesion that's needed to shift systems, to help transform systems, and use water security to help achieve that. Because just going back to those big mega challenges that I referred to on the first slide, I believe that's what we're going to have to be doing, including with our innovation around water security, given the world that's in front of us now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark, for your presentation. Quite informative and very good points that you made already.